Hey everybody, it's Pastor Daniel with Connection Church, and today is what day is it? Oh goodness, it is day
Day
19.
19.
It is Cultivating Community, and today's special guest is Rose. Hi Rose.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for
Yeah,
having me.
thanks for being here. It's always good to see you, and we had Nathan on a couple days ago. Or, no,
Yeah.
yeah, 2 days ago, and you guys are engaged, so we're getting the other half here. So
Yep.
thanks for being here.
Of
Today's
course.
talking about cultivating community, and there were several characteristics of what true community looks like. We're talking about fellowship with each other, loving people as God wants us to love people is our second purpose. And these are characteristics that have to be taught. They're not something that we just have innately within us that we know. So the things they talked about were honesty, humility, courtesy, confidentiality, and frequency. Great reading. I hope people are really reading all of it. Don't just take these videos, but read the whole reading. But Rose, what stood out to you today as you read through it?
Yeah, as I read through it, there were a lot of really kind of great points there. I think one of the big things to me was honesty, because it's not always easy to be honest with other people. Especially me, I really hate confrontation. The thought of it just makes me panic sometimes. But as a family, we always have to be honest with each other. I like when he wrote that within our own families, we're not afraid to be honest, and we love each other no matter what, the good, the bad. And I think always tying in humility as well. When we do want to confront somebody, we always have to come with humility, because one, it's not our job to judge them. That's God's job. And we're sinners ourselves. So praying about it, and also coming with the approach of love when you need to confront someone or talk to them about an issue that might come up, is always key. And I think it's helped because I've never had a time where I did confront someone in a loving way that they yelled at me or ran away. It always
Yeah,
ends up
that's
being
good.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that really stood out to me too, I don't enjoy conflict, but there was a quote and he said, "The tunnel of conflict is the passageway to intimacy in any relationship." So I think many times I desire to have no conflict ever in my
Mm-hmm.
relationships, but that's
Yeah.
not the point. The conflict is good. It shows us where we need to grow. It's how we deal with the conflict that makes the big difference. And that's where that humility comes in that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Maybe even some extra grace. There was a phrase in here called extra grace required, and we talked about that a little. Do you want to talk about
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. I think we all have in our lives people who need extra grace. And that stood out to me as well. I teach
Yeah,
Sunday school, and sometimes we get kids. Every year there's one that there's extra grace required. But I always keep in mind that, those people also need Jesus just as much as we do, if not more. So always being patient with them is really important.
yeah, it is important. And I was reading through that too, and I was like, yep, this person, that person, they're extra grace required. And, extra grace required means some people just kind of hit those buttons, push those buttons in our lives that just bother us. And if we're not careful, we can just kind of write people off like that. And God says, no, but within the church, everyone is welcome. We
Mhm.
come together because of our relationship to God, not our relationship to each other.
Yeah.
And because of our relationship with God, now we're able to give and pour out this extra grace. And it's really good for me whenever I start to think, oh, I don't really want to be around them. It's really good for me to remember how much extra grace God gives me every day. And that
Exactly.
I'm sure people look to me and I'm an extra grace required person for them. And so it kind of comes back. So thank God for his grace, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Well, we have just a couple minutes left. Do you have a closing word for us today of encouragement?
Yeah, I think I like the question for today. It said, how can I help cultivate real community in my church or small group? And I think in these days, it is easy to connect with people, but I think because we're isolated, we, forget about some people. So
Sure. Yeah.
we need to think about our friends and others from our community and our church that maybe we wouldn't normally reach out to, and kind of touch base with them and be intentional about who we talk to.
Yeah, that's good, especially right now. So many of us are isolated, and it's just not as easy to get around people as it
Mm-hmm.
was. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that good word.
Yeah.
I'll close with the Bible verse today is 1 John 3:16. A lot of us know John 3:16, but 1 John 3:16, which is a different verse, says we understand what love is when we realize that Christ gave his life for us.
Mhm.
That means we must give our lives for other believers. So, Rose, thank you so much for sharing your time with us today and your insight too. It was great hearing from you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and for everyone else, I hope you're doing your reading, and also be texting to your accountability partners and say, "I did my reading today," and keep each other encouraged at this time. So, we will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.